Yay! Brilliant. Perfect. Okay, make your way over to your mats. And we're going to start at the back end of the mat in a child's pose. And from the very beginning, you've got loads of options. So with the legs, you can have your knees close together or wider apart, depending on what's most comfortable for your hips and your knees. Just bring your big toes to touch behind you. And then for your arms, you can reach them forward if that feels all right for the shoulders, or widen your elbows, maybe giving the shoulders a little bit more room as you sink down. The third option is if you have your knees together, maybe you reach your arms behind you and then you can bring your forehead down to the mat. I quite like that one because it feels like your shoulders sort of wrap around your knees and you can really sink down. I'm going to stay upright a moment longer just to check in on you, but you find a version of child's pose which is comfortable and suits you today. So knees wide, knees narrow, arms ahead of you, elbows wide, or maybe you're reaching back towards your feet, letting your shoulders round and sink over your knees. If you need a little wriggle to get comfortable in this position, you can do that. Or if you manage to find some stillness, fantastic. Settle in, get comfortable, and find the rhythm of your breath, the natural rise and fall of your chest. And observe any sensations that you feel as you breathe in, depending on how your body's positioned. Maybe you can feel your belly and your chest push onto or between your knees. Maybe you feel the back of the chest rising and expanding behind you. And then imagine a sensation of softness as you exhale. Everything just relaxes down. So a lovely breath in, filling your lungs, but then that softness as you breathe out. Good, lovely. Stick with that rhythm of your breath, and we're going to try and breathe in and out through the nose as we continue through the practice, which is nice and warming, especially if it's chilly where you are, but it also gives you something to focus on, something to take your concentration away from any other challenges and distractions that you might experience. As we work out from home, maybe there's noises around you that you're not familiar with, or outside of the gym environment, some different noises. So if you find something wants to take your focus, just acknowledge that other noise and distraction and then come back to your practice, because it's not often that you get to dedicate 45 minutes to yourself. So enjoy this time and space. And I'm going to give you plenty of options, so you've got the option at any point to have a little rest, come back to child's pose where you are, or maybe you take another pose that you find comfortable. So if you need a pause, a rest, a reset, you can take it. But I've got some breaks factored in for us anyway. Otherwise, there'll be options for some transitions, how you move in and out of poses. I'm gradually going to give you some options that are a little bit more challenging, but if you prefer the first version, stick with that one. And then also some options for the poses themselves. And the only thing I'd ask is, if you try something on the right side, try and repeat it on the left. So we aim for balance, but just acknowledge any differences in strength and range of motion that you might have left to right side. All right. We're going to do a little mobilization, bring some movement in through the body, start to get the blood flowing a little bit, start to generate a bit of warmth before we work through the main section of the flow, which is probably the most energetic bit, but it's no longer than a third of the class. And then we'll slow things down again towards the end. Holding your child's pose for just a moment longer, we're going to take a reach forward with our hands. So let the hips lift, reach forward with your arms, and then as you bring your hips back, slide your hands back with you. A little bit of friction, palm of the hand onto your mat. Breathe in, reach forward, sending your hips a little higher, and then breathe out, drag the hands back with you. One last time. Breathe in, reach forward, let the hips lift, and then sink the hips back, dragging your hands with you. Excellent, really nice. Now as we slide the hands forward, if your knees are wide, bring them underneath your hips. You've got the option to rest your elbows on the mat, but let your chest sink down, bring an arch to your back, lift your hips. If you're looking for a little more, reach further, sink the chest down, maybe all the way to the mat with your arms straight and your chin on the ground. But remember, if this is too strong, bend your elbows so you've got this grounding of your forearms. But still you can see here, my back is arching and I'm looking to lower my belly, stretching the front of the body. We're going to rise on up now, straightening your arms, Bring your hands underneath your shoulders and then pick the shoulders up, push the ground away, tuck your tailbone underneath you. So we've got a rounding of the back. Good. Walk your hands forward. Let's come back to that first position. This is puppy pose. Long arms if comfortable, bend the elbows if you need. Chin and chest to the ground. You're looking forward towards your thumbs, drawing the belly button in and up. And then bring the hands up again underneath you. Push the ground away, tuck your chin to your chest, tuck your tailbone, pushing firmly into your palms. Good. One last time, puppy pose, or bend the elbows if you need to, dropping the chest down, arching the back, front of the body stretching, and then we'll slowly walk on up into cat pose, push the ground away, back of the body stretches as you tuck your tailbone underneath you. Good, lovely, well done. Let's find a neutral tabletop. So give the shoulders a little wriggle if you need to, back a little bit of movement, and draw the belly button in and up so the back is firm and flat. And then we'll take some rolls through the body, make a big circle. You're going to send your hips one way, shoulders forward in another direction. If the wrists are feeling a little fussy, make this a smaller movement. Otherwise, let the wrist dictate how big this becomes, especially as you go forward and side to side. Change direction, send the hips the opposite way, shoulders roll round in the other direction. Good. Try if you can to keep the belly button drawn in, a little bit of firmness through the side and through the middle of the body. And then we'll come back into our neutral tabletop. Good. With the shoulders over the wrists and the hips over the knees. Extend your right leg behind you, hip distance apart, and then you're going to cross your right leg over to the left, tap your toes on the ground. Look over your left shoulder towards your right toes. You might feel a squeeze through the muscles of the waist on the left side, but the stretch through the right. Up and over to the right edge. Look over your right shoulder towards your right toes. Feel the squeeze on the right side of the body, but hopefully a stretch here on the left. Two more each side. Up and over, cross the midline, move your head and shoulders, tap the ground lightly, up and over, and to the right. You can make this a bigger movement, bringing an arch to your back, lifting your foot a little higher, and then squeezing, kicking my water bottle, squeezing the side of the body, sending your hips the opposite way, up and over, and to the right, touch down, and then reset, come back to tabletop. If you want to give the wrists a quick shake, if they're feeling fussy, do that, then come back and reset. We'll do the same on the left side. Extending the left leg to hip height. Before you cross your midline, look over your right shoulder, tap the toes down. So we've got the stretch here through the left side of the body, strength through the right as you squeeze the side ribs to the side of the hips, up and over, and to the left. Good, looking over your shoulder. You can move that shoulder a little bit if that feels comfortable. Two more each side, up and over, to the right. Maybe you're starting to send the hips the opposite way, articulating the spine a bit more. Up and over, and to the left. Look over the shoulder, send the hips the other way. One more, send it up, tap to the side. Remember, you can make it a bit bigger, lifting the foot a little higher, bringing an arch to the back, and then tap down. Before we come back through the center line, and reset. Shake the wrists off again if you need to. Wriggle the shoulders, wriggle the hips, and then find neutral tabletop. Good, fantastic. Keep your left hand on the mat. Your right hand, you're going to reach up and turn to the right. Send your fingertips high. So we're starting to add a twist. Hips still fairly square, shoulders rotated, right hand up. And then as you exhale, bring your right hand all the way, sweep it on the mat underneath your left arm and to the left to bring your shoulder to the ground. Left hand can lightly press into the mat as your elbow comes high, lifting your shoulder to rotate the shoulders in the opposite direction. You should hopefully feel a nice stretch through the back and side of the right edge of your body. Don't forget to breathe with your twists, resting your head lightly on the mat. And then you're going to firm up the pressure, left hand to the ground, lift, shoulders come through tabletop, open out to the right. One more time, fingertips high, take a breath in, and reset, back to tabletop. Good. Same thing with the left, so right hand stays on the mat. Turn your shoulders to the left as you lift your left hand up, extending your fingertips up to the ceiling. You can look up at your hand if that feels comfortable. And as you breathe out, sweep your left hand down the mat underneath your right arm. Bring the shoulder to the ground, right palm on the mat, right elbow, right shoulder high as you rotate in this direction. Whenever we do a twist, we're just making sure that we can still comfortably breathe, that you don't feel like anything is too compressed through the midsection, and ease out of it if you need to. Pushing your right palm into the mat, lift on up, send your left fingertips high, open out the chest in this direction, breathe in, and exhale, let it go, find your tabletop. Take another little wriggle, roll out the back, roll out the hips, lift and lower. Good, nice. Now we're about to step back to a plank, so if you find you're short of space behind you like I am, just take a little elegant walk forward, and then one leg behind you, find your balance, other leg behind you, find your balance, push the ground away, lift the hips up, and drop the heels down. Here's our downward facing dog. For the first one of the day, we'll take a little walk, drop one heel, bend the opposite knee, and swap. And as you keep this steady movement, one foot to the other, see if you can settle your feet hip distance apart in case they're not already there. Feet parallel with your heels, pushing back behind you, toes forward, lengthening out the back of the leg. And then we'll stop, we'll take a little pause, let the heels lower, bend the knees if you need to, straighten them if you can. Take a breath out, let the chest sink down, look towards your toes. Aim to relax your shoulders if you can. We're going to take a little breath in, kick the right leg up and back behind you, and with a little breath out, step the right hand all the way through your hand. So you'll shift forward through plank, take that step through. If one big step doesn't make it, lots of little steps is fine. You can even use your hands to assist your foot being positioned. Let the hips lower as your right knee lines up with your ankle, so you should feel the back of the body grow long before your left knee comes down. Untuck the toes. Think left hip down and forward. So maybe you're squeezing, trying to scoop it ahead of you. Stay low if this feels comfortable. You're just letting the shoulders roll back, looking the chest ahead. And then straighten your right leg, shift your hips back, half split, hamstring stretch. Now if the hamstrings are particularly tight, you might find it more comfortable to come up a little higher, or maybe you're using some blocks or supports. Otherwise, from the hips, long body, look over your toes, keep the back firm and flat. With the breath in, maybe you lift up a little, and with the breath out, perhaps you can lower a little bit further down. Breathing gently into the back of the thigh. They tend to be a little tighter, it's okay. All right, now rebend your right knee, sink the hips again, forward and down. Take your right hand on the inside of your foot as you walk your right foot a little wider. Now let me give you some options. Hopefully as your foot steps a little wider, it feels a bit more open for your hips. You can send your right knee out to the side, lifting the sole of your foot in towards your midline, so you press on the outside edge of the foot if that feels comfortable. So again, maybe the hips have a little bit more space. If not, keep the foot grounded and the knee closer to you. Another option is to maybe bring your elbows down to the mat. Now this is a bit deeper for the hip stretch, so if it doesn't feel good for you, keep your arms straight. You can maybe send them a little wider, a little bit further forward if comfortable, or elbows down. So concentrating on the left hip bone, forward and down. You'll now probably feel a stretch through the back of the right hip too. So find a version that feels good for you. And don't forget to breathe. Good, well done. If you took the bent arm option, walk your hands up straight underneath your shoulders. Reset your right foot a little closer towards you. Pick your knee up. Tuck your back toe. Straighten the back leg to give yourself some space before you extend your right leg alongside your left. Good, nice. We'll bring the hips up again, the heels low, and send your hands ahead of you. Downward facing dog. With another walk, bending one leg, dropping the opposite heel. You can do one leg at a time, or another option is to come into a little crouch, bending both knees, and then straighten both legs. So single leg or double leg. Essentially, it's very much the same movement. Still checking in, feet hip distance apart, long arms extended ahead of you. Pause, find downward facing dog. Take a breath out and soften. Lower the chest if that feels good. All right, next inhale, seize your left leg. Gently kick back behind you. And as you breathe out, look between your thumbs. Sweep your left leg under and through, taking a step between your hands. Remember, help it along if you need to. I know it's a tricky transition. As the left knee bends, the hips start to open, the back lengthens. Look ahead of you, shine your chest forward. Think right hip forward and down, before your right knee finds the mat and you untuck your toes. So now we've got a hip flexor stretch on the right side, but you may feel a little bit here on the back of the left hip. So first one, opening the hips, drawing it forward and down. Then straighten your left leg, send your hips back in line with your right knee, walk your hands with you. You can come upright if you need to, or keep the hands on the mat. With the bend from the hips, the rest of the body is long. You're looking over your toes. With the breath in, maybe you lift. And with the breath out, maybe you lower. So left hamstring stretch, the back of the thigh. Good. Well done. Then we'll rebend the left knee, shift the weight forward, coming into this lovely low lunge again, but now position your left hand on the inside of your foot and walk your foot a little wider to the outside edge of your mat. Option 1, let the knee shift a little wider. Option 2, turn the sole of the foot in towards your midline. The knee will naturally shift wider with that one anyway. Hips still forward and down. Option 3, walk the elbows down to your mat. You can take any combination of those options or do them in isolation if it feels best for you. Remember what you tried on the right side, try and repeat on the left for balance. So if you've taken the wider lower knee option, you might feel more of a stretch here through the hips. Hopefully still feel it on the right hip flexor a degree though. All right, walk the hands up and underneath you if you took the option to bend your elbows. Reset your left foot and knee. Tuck your back toes, lift on up and take a step back. Beautiful. Hips up high, heels down low, hands ahead of you. Give the head a little nod and shake and take a pause in your downward facing dog. If you need a rest right now in child's pose, you can take that, or if you want to take a sip of water, you can do that too. Otherwise, if you stay in downward facing dog, separate your fingers, spread them wide, push into the pads of the fingers. Maybe you notice the knuckle lifts a little, and then push into the heel of your hand to get a nice even weight distribution. So we're about to move into the main section of our flow. We're going to work a little bit with hip rotation and a balance in the second section. Next time you inhale, sweep your right leg up and back, foot aiming for the sky. So we should feel a nice hamstring stretch on the left. And then exhale, knee comes to your nose underneath your body, shift forward through plank, step through when you're ready. Keep the back leg alive this time, but let the hips lower and sink forward. Right knee in line with your ankle. Once you've got your balance, pick your hands up and we'll reach up for high lunge. So the hands are featuring above the shoulders, are featuring above the hips, but we're keeping the belly button drawn in. And we're trying again, bring that left hip forward and down, left knee aiming straight for the ground. For now, we're about to add a rotation. Keep your arms where they are, your shoulders facing forward, but imagine you can see your left heel. You're just going to rotate it down to the ground. I quite like the sensation of separating the knees, right knee pressing forward, left knee opening out to the side. Sink deep if comfortable, rise up if you need to. So adjust the knee bend depth to suit you. But we've still got a little rotation. We've opened the hip, but we're still facing the front. So a little rotation through the body. Breathe out, relax your arms behind you. Grab a hold of your knuckles and then reach your arms down the back of your thigh, lifting your chest at the same time if that feels good. Chin up, chest stretch. Front thigh beginning to get a bit warmer though, right? Release your arms, reach in, breathe up, and then send them forward and down. Lift your back heel, step back to plank. Excellent. Knees down, give the legs a little rest, untuck your toes. Bring your elbows in towards the side of the ribs, and as you breathe out, we're going to lower down, like a reverse press up. Landing lightly, long through the legs, palms onto the mat, curl up. You can pause with the arms bent. You've got baby cobra, or if you're ready for it, straighten the arms for cobra pose. Either way, stay strong through your shoulders so you don't sink down between your arms. Chest up, chin extended, and exhale, lower down. Tuck your toes again. We'll let the knees bend. We're going to push away from the ground. Once your arms are straight, straighten your legs too. Your hips will lift. Lift them even more and drop the heels down. We're in downward facing dog. Pause for a breath as you settle into your position. And then on your next breath in, we'll sweep the left leg up and back, reaching the foot towards the sky. Feel the hamstring stretch on the right. Left knee comes to your nose. Sweep underneath your body. shoulders shift forward, and step through once you're ready. Remember, several steps or help the foot along. The knee starts to bend, the hip starts to lower, the back of the body lengthens. Once you've got your balance, reach up, high lunge. Here we go. So same thing, shoulders in line with the hips, fingertips in line with the shoulders. Draw in through the belly button, keep the back firm. And this time it's the right hip forward and down. Right knee pointing straight down towards the mat. For now, try and relax the shoulders despite reaching up. Keep the left leg where it is. Right heel lowers to the ground. So that same sensation of separating your knees. Send them in separate directions. Shoulders still face the front. Fingertips still reaching up. Arms relaxed. Good. So we've done a little hip opening exercise into warrior one. We're going to pick that right heel. Oh no, chest stretch. Lower your arms. Breathe out. Interlace your knuckles behind you. Long arms as you reach down the back of the leg. Lifting chest, lifting chin, looping your shoulders back. Front thigh beginning to heat up a little bit. Before you release your arms, reach up, breathe in, and then send them forward and down. Lifting your back heel when you're ready. Ooh, step back, plank. Knees down, toes soft, elbows in, breathe out and lower. Down we go. Stretching out through the back of the body, palms on the mat, curl on up, baby cobra with the elbows bent, or cobra pose with the arms straighter. Think about tucking the elbows in towards your body. Maybe the crease of your elbow faces forward. You can take a slight bend in the elbows if you need to. And exhale, bring it down. Tuck the toes, let the knees bend. Lift on up, straighten the arms. Lift the hips, straighten the legs. Lift the hips more, drop the heels down. And we're back in downward facing dog. Excellent. It's a really nice time to take a sip of water if you need one. A rest in child's pose is also an option for you. Or you can stay in downward facing dog, staying still or taking some movement, whatever you prefer. Remember that the head, neck and shoulders should be reasonably relaxed in downward facing dog. So if you can, give the head a little shake, let it fall between your arms, look towards your toes. Awesome. If you took a rest, make your way back to downward facing dog. Join us here. And then we're going to move to the second section of our flow, which is going to see us adding a little balance. First up though, we'll breathe in, kick the right leg up and back behind you. Feel the hamstring stretch on the left. As you exhale, right knee underneath you, look towards your thumbs, step through. Let the right knee bend. Lifting the chest, shine it forward, the hips lower down. Once you're ready, reach up into high lunge. We just pause here for a moment, reaching the top of our breath as our fingertips extend. Keep the shoulders where they are, lower your back heel, sending your knees in opposite directions for warrior one. Then we're going to turn the shoulders the same way as the hips and send the arms out to the side, warrior two. Good. Relax the shoulders as you extend your fingertips. Sink a little deeper if the strength is with you today. Good. Turn your right palm up. Lift it towards the ceiling, lower your left hand and we'll find reverse warrior. This should give you a stretch through the right side of the body, but strength here on the left. Your right elbow is high and you're reaching behind you. Good, well done. Use the strength of your body to bring you upright into warrior two again. Nice, long arms, reach left to right. Then turn to face the front, arms extend, lift onto your back toes. And we're going to take a little hop forward. So you're going to spring off your back leg to take the weight onto your front. And you can do this with a few steps. Up and up. There we go. I'm going to shift backwards a little bit. So take the weight over your front leg, lightly on your back toes. You can keep your arms extended, but it is a bit more challenging, or have them by your sides or on your hips, your choice. But you're going to look forward and lean forward, tilting the body down and lifting your back leg when you're ready. Now, if balance is a challenge, maybe you work more on lowering the body. You'll have strength in your right leg. And if and when you're ready, the left toes can come up. Tap them down whenever you need to. Otherwise, if the balance is good for you today, you're going to lift that back leg up into a horizontal position. So, arms forward, on your hips or by your side, you choose. The leg that you have lifted, you can point your toes, flex the foot or go halfway in between. Keep a little softness in your right knee and try and wrap your left hip down. Your right leg is going to work a little harder. Gently tuck your chin to your chest, look straight down at the floor, breathe. And then as you push into your right toes, your weight should gently travel back. Left foot finds the mat. Oops. Reach your arms on up. We return to high lunge. Good. Find your balance. That's it. And then reach forward and down. Set your hands on the mat. Step back to your plank. Give the legs a little shake out if they're feeling a bit tight. You can stay on your toes this time or drop down to your knees. Your choice. If you're on your toes, just gently push forward before you breathe out and lower. Touching down, untuck the toes. Breathe in and lift. Arms straight, arms bent, your choice. Elbows tucked back, shoulder blades squeezing together, chin extended. And exhale, bring it down. Another transition option is to tuck your toes and keep your legs straight. So we push up through a plank, or keep the knees on the ground to give you that tabletop version. Otherwise the hips come up, the heels drop back, and we find downward facing dog. Take a pause, settle into your pose, and we're going to get ready to repeat on the left side. So when you next breathe in, left leg extends up and back behind you, sending your toes to the sky, hamstring stretch on the right. As you breathe out, left knee sweeps underneath your body, shoulders shift forward, step forward, let the knee bend as the hips lower. Good, well done. And then we'll breathe in and lift. Come on up for high lunge, sending your fingertips up to the sky, shoulders, hips and fingertips in line. Keep the shoulders where they are, back heel, lowers to the mat, send your knees in opposite directions, warrior one. Then turn your shoulders the same way as your hips, warrior two. Relax the arms, long through the fingertips, adjust the knee bend if you need to. Left palm, turn it up, fingertips reach up high, right hand lowers, reverse warrior. So the left elbow is high, send your fingertips away from you, stretching here through the left side, but strength on the right. And don't forget to breathe. Use the strength in your body to lift you back up into warrior two. Roll the shoulders, turn your shoulders forward, lifting your fingertips again. Now same thing, we're going to pick up this back heel and take a couple of hops to shift the weight forward over the left leg. So if you need to, you're going to go 1, 2, 3, or maybe just one big one. Keeping the arms up is an option, on your hips or by your sides. Take the weight over your left leg and start to pivot at the hips. Body comes forward and the right leg starts to lift. So you're going to try and repeat what you had on the right side, but acknowledging any differences that you have in strength and range of motion. And balance can be tricky, it can be a challenge. So be kind, tap the toe down when you need to, reset, come back to it. If you can, wrap the right hip down, you'll work a little stronger through the left side. You can point the right toes, flex them, or halfway in between. Look straight down at the ground, extend the back of your neck, breathe. And then as you dig in with your left toes, send your weight back. Right foot finds the mat, fingertips lift on up, high lunge, just for a second. Before we exhale, lower down. Good. Step on back to plank. Give the legs a little shake off if you need to. Remember, you can keep the legs straight or bend the knees down towards the ground. If the legs are straight, rock forward, exhale, lower. Beautiful. Touch down lightly, release your toes. Inhale and lift, curl up. Back of the body active and working, front of the body stretches. And bring it on down. Fantastic. Tuck the toes, legs straight or keep the knees on the mat as you push up and away, plank or tabletop, before the hips lift, the heels lower, and we find downward facing dog again. Excellent. I'm going to call in a quick water break, so you can rest in child's pose, stay in downward facing dog, or come to a kneeling position, grab your drink bottle, have a quick sip. Okay. I'll do a super quick demonstration of the final pose that we're going to do in our flow, and then you'll know if you want to have an option to take with you as well. Looking around for my yoga block, here we go. If you have something like a yoga block or a thick hardback book, this might be quite useful. So we're going to revisit warrior two before we straighten the front leg. Reach forward and tilt down. And this is where your block might be useful, so you can rest your hand lightly on it if you need to. The options that I'm going to give to you are whether you keep your feet in this position, Bring them a little bit narrower for your stance, or indeed step wider. So this may change how the stretch feels for you. And you'll have a little bit of time to play with the depth or the width of your feet if you need it. All right, so if you need a prop, grab it, have it near the top edge of your mat. We'll start again in downward facing dog. So when you're ready, tuck your toes, send your hips up, straighten your legs, and extend your arms ahead of you. Take a moment to lower head, neck, and shoulders. Relax. All right, final time. Right leg, as you breathe in, kick it up and back behind you, but this time, bend your right knee, keep it high, keep it wide, bring your heel back towards your body, and then shift your left shoulder away from your left toes. So this is a split dog now. We're opening up the hips. Right knee to your chest, look forward, step forward, prepare for low lunge, and then fingertips up, high lunge as you reach. We're going to come straight into warrior two this time. Back heel down, shoulders and hips rotate, arms open out. Good, lovely. So, straighten your right leg. We'll lift on out a little bit. Keep your feet where they are. Step a little narrower if you need to, and it's just a heel-toe shuffle of the back foot, or indeed, heel-toe shuffle a little wider. You're going to reach forward and lean forward, lowering your right arm down. Onto the ground, onto your shin, hover it in midair, or use your block if you have one, if you need it. Now we're looking for vertical arms. With the left fingertips reaching up, loop your left shoulder back, so you're not rounding and looking down towards the ground. You can have your gaze down to your right hand, sideways on, or up to your left fingers, which is a bit more challenging, so find your version. Good, well done. Check that you're not hyperextending on your right knee. Keep a little softness in the knee joint if you need to. Send your left hip up and back to really target this inner thigh, groin, and hip stretch on the right side. Good, well done. One more breath. Before you re-bend your right knee, if you're using a prop, shift it out the way. Both hands either side of your right foot. Left heel lifts, let the hips rotate, and then you'll step back to your plank. Shake the legs off if you need to. Straight legs or bent knees with the option to hover halfway. So we'll rock forward if your legs are straight. Exhale, lower, hover halfway down, and then flip your toes, straighten your arms, push the ground away. If comfortable, keep your hips and your knees off the ground. So this is upward facing dog. A little stronger, we're carrying the weight of the body through the arms. Or hips and knees down, you're back to cobra pose. A bit more stretch. So you pick your version. You can exhale, come all the way down to the ground and push up through tabletop or plank like we did before. Or another transition option is to bring the hips up into a pike. Push into your hands, push into your feet. And when you're ready, flip your toes, heels, down and back. Downward facing dog. Excellent. I'm going to change sides, taking my block with me. So, last time, left side. Inhale, send your left leg up and back behind you. Bending the knees, send it high and wide, the heel back towards your body. Anchor your right heel, shift your right shoulder away from your right toes. Then, left knee underneath you, look forward, step forward, make any adjustments, assistance that you need. Lower the hips, look ahead of you. Once you're ready, reach up, high lunge. Take that inhale as you rise, and then exhale as you open out to the side, warrior two. Long, relaxed arms. Send your fingertips away. Breathe in, straighten your front leg, lift on out. Keep the feet where they are. Step wider, step narrower. Your choice. Just repeat what you did on the other side. So, with a look forward, lean forward, and then tilt on down as your right hand lifts. And it's the same thing. We want to open out the chest, reaching the fingertips on the right side, up towards the ceiling. Using a block if you have it, if you need it. Resting your fingertips lightly on your shin, hovering in midair, or touching down to the ground, your choice. You can look down, just keep this right shoulder up, sideways on, or up towards your right hand. Remember, that's a little bit more challenging. So the stretch may feature inner thigh, groin, hip, anywhere around there. Different people feel it in different places. Don't forget to breathe, checking that you're not pushing back on the left knee. Soften it a little bit if you need to. Good, well done. If you've got a block, move it out the way. You're going to re-bend your left knee. Bring your hands either side of the foot. Lift your right heel. Push away, step back, plank. On your knees or on your toes. Rock forward if you're on your toes. Exhale, option to hover halfway down just for a second before you flip your toes. Push your groin away and come to upward facing dog. Or cobra or baby cobra if you need it. Remember, you can breathe out, lower all the way down before lifting back up through tabletop or plank, or come here through a pike. Push into the hands, the tops of the feet. Flip the toes when you're ready and heels drop back. Excellent. Now we're going to take 3 reset breaths here. So you can stay perfectly still in downward facing dog. If you're ready for a rest, find child's pose. Or you can come with me, take some movement. Inhale, push onto your toes. Lift your hips, lift your heels. And exhale, push back with the heels lowering. So with or without movement. 2 more breaths at your own pace. One last one when you're ready. And if you're not already in child's pose, let's make our way there. Remember, knees narrow, knees wide, your choice. Arms ahead of you, elbows wide, or reach back towards your feet. Find a version that's comfortable for you, that allows you to let your chest lower, drop down and breathe. A little rest, a little recovery. If you need a sip of water, you are more than welcome to take that now. We're nearing the end of our practice, so it's important to still stay hydrated. Okay, fantastic. A little bit of fire for the core before we slow things down. So we're going to do what's called an elevator plank. It is an option. If you prefer to just hold a plank, you can do it with straight arms or forearms. If you're joining me for the elevator plank, prepare to fire up the midsection. Okay, so from your kneeling position, come into tabletop, spread your weight evenly through all 4s. Before you step back, 1 leg at a time, here. Now you can come onto your forearms if you prefer as an alternative and just hold that for a moment, breathe. Otherwise, if you're joining me for the elevator plank, take a little breath in, lift your right leg briefly before the right knee comes to your tricep. So shift forward, the knee is high and wide. Then lower it to your wrist, don't let it touch the floor. Pick it back up towards your tricep, and send it back. Good. Don't think about it. Straight to the left side. Breathe in. Left leg lifts. Left knee to tricep, high and wide. Lower it down towards your wrist. Try not to let it touch the floor. Pick it back up towards your tricep and kick it back. Knees down, hips back. Child's pose. Short but sweet, for want of a better word. All right. Let's slow our pace. We're going to lift back up again through a little tabletop, just briefly. Tuck your toes, lift your hips, and take a little walk towards your hands into forward fold. You're welcome to start with your feet hip distance apart, or bring your big toes to touch. We're going to come to that position in a moment anyway. Otherwise, lower the head, give a little shake, sway, nod, let it sink down between your arms. If your fingertips don't touch the mat because your hamstrings are tight, hold onto your elbows, let the weight of your body fold you forward. If your fingertips can touch the mat, just be careful that you're not propping and supporting your weight. Try and still fold forward from the hips. A little bit of stretch through the back of the thighs, a little tension in the front of the thighs, keep the knees gently bent if you can. Okay, if your feet are hip distance apart, walk them closer together now so that your big toes touch. It might feel a little tighter for your forward fold. That's perfectly natural. I'm going to bring a little bit more energy. Inhale, flatten your back and lift. You can come to horizontal or a little bit lower. Tuck your elbows and pull them back towards your thighs as you rest your fingertips lightly on your shins. Extend the crown of your head with a little tuck of the chin, looking straight down, just a foot ahead of your toes. Wrap your lower ribs in, draw the belly button in, and extend your tailbone behind you. So you should feel long but firm through the torso. Take a breath out, find your forward fold again. Lower down, heavy head, looking between your knees. And another breath in, halfway lift, flatten your back. Elbows tuck, crown of the head forward, tailbone back, lower ribs squeeze in, belly button is tight. And exhale, lower. Last time, forward fold. Now take a bend through your knees. Let the weight shift into your heels. Your hips will start to drift back. And as you lift your fingertips up off the ground, let your shoulders come above your hips if you can. Your arms can stay here by your side or reach forwards, a little bit more challenging, in line with your shoulders. Squeeze the knees together, engage your thighs, engage your glutes, tuck your tailbone down to the mat. Watch out for your hips escaping behind you. Tuck it down, squeeze. Good, well done. For a little bit more strength if you need it, lift your arms as well, above your shoulders. Watch out again for the tailbone. Tuck those hips, squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. And a slow rise to standing for 5, reach up. 4, legs start to extend. 3, hips begin to straighten. 2, take a breath in on the 1, and exhale, let it go. Arms down, well done. You're going to place your hands onto your lower back and hips, either with your fingertips touching or your thumbs touching, so, excuse me, alternate your wrist position if you need to. Checking you've still got your big toes touching. Bring a little softness to your knees and lengthen your tailbone down to the ground. It might feel like your hips are shifting forward, and that's okay. You're going to squeeze your elbows together, lift your chin, lift your chest, and imagine you're rolling backwards over a barrel. Not underneath with the hips, up and over the top. Standing back bend to counteract the forward fold. Extend your chin only as far as you can still comfortably breathe. You'll be bringing an arch to your back, a stretch to the front of the body, but keep your glutes and your core strong. If you need a little bit more, soften the knees, hips further forward, elbows back, chest up. Remember to breathe. Good. Now tighten up your abdominal muscles to lift your shoulders back up over your hips. Let go of your arms. Tuck your chin to your chest. Look at your toes, round your shoulders. Long fingertips reaching to the ground. Zombie arms as they lower, lower, lower. Soften the knees when you need to. Rounding, folding back forward at the hips. Fingertips on the ground, or you're gently holding your elbows in your hands. Maybe as we repeat the forward fold, it feels a little bit nicer for your hamstrings. Maybe you can go a little bit lower. It's okay if that's not the case. Bend your knees to the point where you can comfortably place your hands on the mat. And then keep bending the knees. Keep bending, keep bending, keep bending until your back of your thighs rest on the back of the calves. Your heels may lift. Shoulders come above the hips. Use your hands behind you to lightly, gently, elegantly sit yourself down. Good, well done. Position yourself so that you're in the center of the mat. If you want to add on a blanket, some socks, or a jumper, you can absolutely do that. We're just about to finish our practice lying down. So, 2 options to find your way to your back. You can keep your arms here as a counterweight, use your abdominal muscles to lower you, or the softer version, hands behind you, and gently ease yourself down. So you choose. Either way, once you're on the ground, take a little moment to lift and shift the hips so that your lower back is comfortable. You can extend your legs, give them a little shake maybe, and then let your toes fall out. Same thing, maybe you lift and shift the shoulders, give them plenty of space. Rest your hands by the side of your hips, but turn your palms up so that you can both send and receive energy. Maybe you give your head a little shake side to side before it falls in the center. And with a big breath in, imagine your body floating and lifting it up. And as you breathe out, sink down, as if you're just collapsing into the most comfortable mattress. Then you're just going to fall into a natural, gentle rhythm of your breath. But aim, if you can, to just slow it ever so slightly. So maybe you observe how many counts it takes to breathe in, and how many counts it takes to breathe out. The next time you go through a breath cycle, make your exhale just a fraction longer than your breath in. And then make your in-breath the same time, before the next out-breath is just that fraction longer. The next in-breath matches your exhale. The next exhale is just a fraction longer. And you can stick with that exercise just as long as it doesn't become forced. Just letting the breathing slow to help the heart rate slow. You're welcome to close your eyes or lower your gaze, or just pop a jumper or a sleeve or a little towel across the top half of your face. If you need a wriggle, you can take it, but if you can find some stillness, stay there, enjoy this space. And I'm going to leave you with just a little quote from Roald Dahl. And he said, "Those who believe, or those who don't believe in magic, will never find it." So you have to believe in something for it to be a reality, right? Of course, it doesn't apply to anything. I believe in unicorns. I'm not too sure they actually exist though, but hey, if I didn't believe, I would never see them. And as silly as it is, maybe it's brought a little smile to the corners of your mouth. And as we wrap up the practice, if you wish to take this time just to lie a little bit still for a little bit longer, you are welcome to do that. If you're ready for some movement though, bring a little wriggle to your fingers and toes. Maybe that into the arms and legs as well, shoulders and hips. You can take a squeeze, you can take a stretch, you can take a twist if that's what your body needs. Remember, stillness is still an option for you. And when you're ready, either maybe by rolling onto your side, pausing there for a moment before you lift on up, or rocking forwards and backwards, you can bring yourself eventually into a seated position. Legs crossed, maybe the feet are together and the knees are wide, legs extended, kneel on them, whatever feels good for you. So there's absolutely no rush. If you want to stay where you are, stay where you are. Good. If you are upright, find a position that allows both your sit bones to feel equally distributed onto the ground, and one that allows you to sit tall, lifting your chest, softly landing your hands on your thighs, elbows low, shoulders down. And then just to wrap up together, we'll spread our arms wide, turn the palms up and take a breath in. Connect your palms, breathe out and slowly lower them down. Good, well done. If it feels comfortable, take a little lean forward. A big thank you from me to you for joining me on this day for your yoga practice. If you have any questions, please let me know. If you need to shoot off, give me a wave. I hope you have a wonderful day ahead. Namaste.